Hello everyone, Joe here, and thank you all for coming to this video. Just want to give you all a heads up before the video actually does start. This is going to be a much longer video. I'm trying something new out, sort of a podcasty type thing, but just me waffling on by myself really. But the most important aspect of this video for me is you, the viewer. I really do hope that you can kind of enjoy this longer, more relaxed, laid back type of video, and the key thing for me is your engagement. I really want to see some comments. I really want to start some conversation about some of the topics talked about in this video. So please just stick it on in the background, maybe just tune in every now and then, and maybe rattle off a few ideas of your own in the comment section. I'd love to engage with you and get your thoughts and opinions on the things that I do speak about in this video, and hopefully we can just create some conversation as per the title regarding some of the things that is happening around with the Stones this season. So I do hope you enjoy this video, and let's get it underway. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the JP on Comms channel. Today I'm bringing you something a little bit different, something that hopefully I can continue just on those days when there's not much going on around the club in terms of announcements or big things to create a video on to keep you updated about. So I thought, why not just create some conversation? So I think that's going to be the name I'm going to run with for this series, but this is going to be the introductory or pilot episode, as you will. And yeah, so I'm just going to try a one take little video, just see what happens, have a little chat, and I'm joined by a nice cup of Rosie Lee, so hopefully that'll get me through this little creating conversation video. But yeah, so it's just going to be something a little bit more laid back. Hopefully this will create some discussion as per the title, and just give us some little grounds to speculate about what's going to be happening in the coming month. Obviously we've got about 5 weeks now from the time this video is going to be released until that first start, or the first game at the start of the National League campaign. So of course we've still got plenty of time to have a conversation about what's going to be happening, what maybe we might want to see happening. So yeah, this is just kind of the grounds that I'm going to go off and do it. Again, this is a lot more laid back than my typical videos are going to be. As you can probably tell, I seem a little bit more relaxed than usual, so that is just going to be the vibe that we're going with for this type of content. So the first topic I'm going to talk about is David Smith. If you haven't already seen it, I'll link it up there in the top right hand corner, but my 5 potential signings video from a couple of weeks ago now, David Smith is someone that I did manage to highlight actually during that video. He's a 23-year-old striker, David Smith, from Folkestone Invicta, so a couple leagues below Maidstone, but he did play 60 games last season. He also managed to bag 35 goals and 16 assists in that time, whilst playing the most games for the club last season. So definitely someone who's got an engine, someone that will fit our system. And in recent days, today is actually the 30th, I do believe, of June. Sorry, yeah, it is the 30th of June. So yesterday, on the 29th, there was actually a leaked article from the KM Online. I believe the Stones representative Craig Tucker did put that out about how Maidstone have signed David Smith from Folkestone. There was some conversation in there from Hakan about what a great player David Smith is. Apparently he'd been training with Maidstone for half of last season. So yeah, it's an interesting one, that. Of course, that has now been taken down. If you haven't seen my tweets, at JP on Comms on Twitter is where I do often put about this sort of news, but it was sent to me yesterday. Someone managed to actually access the article, and yeah, it says Hakan Harrington says that he's been training with us for more than half the season. David Smith went to Southend as well, but didn't like it there for whatever reason. He's a goal scorer, isn't he? We've got to see if we can step up and do it in the... Well, he's got to see if he can step up and do it in the National League, but I think he can. He's a nice lad, a good kid, an intelligent kid. I don't see why he can't score goals at this level. A goal scorer is a goal scorer. So, of course, that article all but announced the signing of David Smith. However, following that, I actually did take a little look at the Folkestone Invicta forums, and of course the Maidstone United forums, to have a little look about this David Smith announcement. And it does appear that David Smith has confirmed off the field that he's not going to be joining Maidstone. So a few Folkestone fans have actually claimed that they've had it confirmed to them that he's not going to be joining Maidstone, and a little source that is being banded around at the moment is that he is going to be joining Bromley in the National League. So Maidstone are looking like they're going to be missing out, despite the speculative announcement from the KM yesterday. It does seem that some sort of agreement was in principle for Smith to join the Stones for this summer ahead of the National League season. However, that hasn't worked out. So again, we're just going to have to kind of recoup the wounds there, maybe lick our wounds and just kind of find a different target. Of course, that is something that is going to be difficult for us in terms of planning ahead for this season. Smith was probably quite likely a pretty solid target for the Stones, and someone that we would have been quite confident that we could sign, especially considering our distance to Folkestone compared to some of the other teams that are in for him, such as Yeovil and Bromley. I do think we're a little bit closer, and of course, moving up into the National League, we might be able to give him a little bit more game time. However, this deal falling through could have been the reason why we did end up signing Paddy Gandor last week. So again, swings and roundabouts when it comes to the signings and the rumour mill. But yeah, we'll have to wait to see the developments on that David Smith one. Maybe we'll see something from the club during the rest of the week to maybe kind of explain what happened there. Maybe Craig Tucker himself might put out something to kind of explain, well, this was happening, I was told to put this out, blah, blah, blah. And we might see a little bit of an explanation as to what occurred there. But yeah, that is all for David Smith for now. However, as I said earlier on, today is June the 30th. And of course, that means tomorrow is the 1st of July. So we're getting ever closer to that start of the season. And well, the 1st of July, of course, in the football calendar, does tend to mean quite a lot when it comes to player signings, and especially the retained list, which Maidstone did put out a little while ago. I'll just bring that up. And yeah, the Maidstone retained list is, of course, something that many of the fans did have some questions over when it was released just a couple of weeks ago. There was obviously quite a large portion of that first team squad which was not included, and you kind of have to ask yourself, well, what is the plan with these players? Is there a reason for the delay? And yeah, I mean, there's quite a few first teamers in there who, well, at the time on the retained list weren't announced, such as Rory Deacon, Tom Hadler, big players for Maidstone in the last season, of course, as many fans will know. And it is something of a question topic when it comes to the squad for next season, but there's not been many updates from it. Binon Williams does seem to be the only person, I think, who is on the retained list. I'm having some trouble finding it because, of course, when you Google retained list, the 2019 squad comes up. So I'll keep searching for that whilst waffling on. But it is interesting to see, it's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow on July the 1st. Is, of course, those players who are currently in training at the moment who have not been retained are still going to be training with the squad because they are officially Maidstone players until the end of this month, June. So we will have to wait and see what happens with them. But okay, so we've got the retained players are Bivesh Garung, George Fowler, Harley Earl, Juan Luque, Joe Lowell, Regan Booty, Sam Corn, Gavin Hoyt, and of course Binon Williams. Moving on, we've already seen Pavey, Curran, Max Sutton, Billy Johnson, Michael Phillips, and of course Reece Grant went to Dover just lately. We've got players like Christy Patterson who still haven't been re-signed yet, but there's been a couple of little subtle hints in recent weeks regarding that Christy Patterson re-signing. Hakan, of course, said in his article with the KM a couple of weeks back, or it might have been last week, about actually retaining Christie in terms of he's an option we've got to replace Luque at left wing whilst he's injured. So again, that might be something that is announced tomorrow rather than ahead of the deadline for renewals. And I do think if we see a lot of the players who are yet to be announced leaving the Stones next season, we're going to be in a spot of trouble. Of course, if you weren't aware, Hakan Terry, the club, did say that they're looking to bring in 6 or 7 players throughout the squad, so first team and of course to bolster that bench and reserves ahead of this National League campaign. But that is of course going to be assuming they manage to retain the players they're looking to keep. Hakan has been quite big on his sort of inclination or his reasoning into try and keep this squad from last season together. But yeah, sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you can't keep everybody together. You can't always give everybody what they're going to be after. There's going to be some players who were more on the fringes last season who are going to be looking for more minutes, which we might not be able to offer them. We're going to be having players who were on first team contract, getting regular game time, who are going to be, of course, expecting an increase to their pay due to their rising stocks and performances last season. So it is going to be quite key tomorrow, July the 1st, in what's going to happen in terms of our plan for the upcoming season. But let me see if I can just... Here we go. So players discussing or offered a new contract. Jack Barham is he's offered a new contract and is discussing it, as we saw in the Hakan article a couple of weeks back. He is actually contracted to stay with us for next season, but Hakan's just trying to sort him something. Again, as I was saying about those stocks rising for many of the players in this squad, they are going to be wanting a little bit more value. Binon Williams has been re-signed, but we've got Rafe Brown, Rory Deacon, Tom Hadler, Perry Indolo, Yusuf Mersin, Dom Odesanya, Christy Patterson and Tushon Walters. Phillips is also on that list, but obviously he's joined Barnet now. But out of those players there, you know, we've got some first teamers, we've got some really big players from the team last season. Of course, Jack Barham still yet to agree, or well, officially at least, on a new deal for next season, despite already being contracted. You never know what could happen there. Rafe Brown, someone who can provide really good backup, and I think we're going to need to keep, considering Jerome Binon Williams is our only left back at the club if Rafe was to move on. Rory Deacon, our starting right midfielder and debatably most experienced player within the squad in terms of his footballing career. Perhaps Gavin Hoyt, of course, is up there in the contest, but Rory Deacon, especially in that forward line, someone who's got the most experience when it comes to the National League and, you know, with Sutton and all the rest of it. FA Cup runs and playing in Scotland, you know, he's had a very prestigious career in terms of non-league football. So it is obviously we want to keep someone like Rory Deacon, but Reece Grant, he's left now, gone to Dover, but Tom Hadler, you know, Maidstone's #1, obviously is a big player we're going to want to keep on to hold of. Many debates for him to be goalkeeper of the season last year. I don't think he did get it, but again, you know, he did keep the most clean sheets in the league. He did concede the least goals in the league. So, you know, he is a big player for us, despite his slightly rocky start to last season. He did manage to kind of come back around and deliver and perform every game. He saved us a lot of points. There were some saves, I can't remember who it was against, but I was in the Genco one week and someone had a header at the back post and Tom had, I don't know how he got to it, he's going the other way, but he still stuck his arm out and kept it out, which kept us in that game, which I do believe we won. But you know, Dom Odesanya, a very important squad player for last season, someone who scored a couple of really important goals for us as well. Someone who can come in place of Regan Booty or Sam Corn and, you know, give them a rest that they're going to need, especially going into the National League next season with more games. Kind of packing out that squad is going to be more important than ever, especially compared to last season. We did have a very small squad. We didn't use many players, I think, throughout the season, especially after that kind of Christmas period, once everything had settled in terms of incomings and outgoings. I think, you know, having a bigger squad is going to benefit us because we can actually maintain a good level of fitness. It is a step up, obviously a big step up into the National League for next season. But yeah, personally for me, I'd like to see Rory Deacon re-sign him, Christy Patterson re-sign. I think those two are going to be crucial going into the National League next season. Christy, of course, is someone who's just fantastic off the bench, isn't he? I mean, wow, the amount of games last season where we were kind of struggling towards the last stage of the game and Christy Patterson comes on and we just kind of open teams up. You know, that dimension, that pace that he brings down that right-hand side, he's a completely different animal to Rory Deacon. Rory Deacon, of course, fantastic in his own right, but when it comes to pace and power, Christy's got that. When it comes to technical ability, I think Rory's got that. So it's really good to have that different dynamic. Two players who play in that same position but have different dynamics to them, and their game, of course, can help us break through when things aren't going our way. But again, nothing on Patterson at the moment. Tushawn Walters is someone we saw featuring at the end of last season, and you would assume that his feature in the last couple of games of the season, Chelmsford, I think he might have played against. He definitely played against Welling, and I think he might have played in that last game of the season as well. You would assume that trying to bed him into the squad then after his injury is going to be something we were looking at to see if he could cut it for this season, but he hasn't officially left yet, nor has he re-signed. So again, that's going to be interesting to see. But if we don't re-sign those three players, then our attacking options are going to be quite limited. Gandor, Barham and Sol Wanjau-Smith will be our only fit players in that attacking third. So it will be interesting to see what happens there. Perry Dolo as well is someone who I think is an interesting prospect. He was on loan at Sutton Common Rovers last season. Very important player for them, actually picked up their player of the season. So he's very successful when he was on loan there, and of course he's still very young. I think he's only 21, maybe 22 years old. Let's have a little look. But yeah, as you know, as a player who is going to be looking to break into that first team, is he going to be able to get the minutes with the reintroduction of Hadi Gandor into the team? You know, it's going to be difficult. Yusuf Mersin, of course, very capable backup goalkeeper, but again, you know, he's kind of reaching the latter stages of his career now. He's in his late 20s. Is he going to be looking for more game time? It's going to be difficult again to comment on whether he's going to be re-signed. I'd hope he would. Of course, he'd be a fantastic backup option. But yeah, I mean, again, this is all speculation. Hopefully we can kind of create this conversation between myself and, of course, other Maidstone fans about who you'd like to see re-signing from that currently discussing contract list. But again, you know, we've got that right-back position as well, which is something that might need to be addressed. Obviously, Gavin Hoyt isn't getting any younger, as good as he is. You know, it's going to be a very demanding season next year, and Michael Phillips leaving, someone who could play a right back and did feature a right back last season. Max Sutton, of course, has now departed for Kennington as well. That means our right back options are limited, so maybe we'll see someone come in there. Of course, there's always the option of someone to come up from the development squad. Did notice today that 3 development squad players have actually been training with this Maidstone team in the first team since the return to training this week. Let's see. Jack Weir, Alfie Giles, and who is that? Nathan is the first name. I'm sure I saw his second name earlier. Don't want to discredit him, so I will look it up. But yeah, so, you know, maybe we'll see an introduction of development team players into this first team for next season to help bolster that squad. Of course, they will be cheaper than bringing in more established squad players. However, it is always a risk when introducing these players. Of course, they're going to be hungry. They're young players looking to make a name for themselves. But when it comes down to it, National League can be a big step up, even for our more experienced players. And who is that? Nathan Jetche, and he's going to be, well, he has been training with the first team as well. Cheeky plug for the Stones Live mug as well. If you haven't got that, I think it's about £6, £8, something like that. Lovely little mug, keeps you going. But yeah, so again, that's another option, development squad players. The cheaper option, which may allow us to reinvest elsewhere in the squad. We, of course, had the release of the National League ball for next season, which I'll just put here somewhere. That's looking pretty good. Quite a few players I've seen very happy with that. As well, we've got the squad numbers are actually released, and I think there's been quite a few changes in terms of the squad numbers for next season. The majority of first team players have maintained their number, but we've got a new number 9, Sol Wanjau-Smith, 23 years old, coming in, of course, off the back of a fantastic season with Hungerford. Big fan of Sol already. If you haven't already seen it, there's a podcast. I think he retweeted it, so if you go onto his Twitter, you'll be able to see that. He did a podcast with a friend of his, someone who's very interested in sports and fitness, talking about his career and what's led him to Maidstone and how he's feeling ahead of the National League season. Of course, it's going to be his first time in the National League, and at a young age, someone who's not come through the academies of big clubs and then worked his way into non-league. He started off at non-league and built up. So, you know, what journey he's had, and to get that number 9 shirt, of course, at any club is, of course, going to be big. But we, if you actually look on the first team tab on the website, I think most of the players from the retain list are actually on there. You know, Dom Odusanya's on there, still always number 14. Christy Patterson, number 17. Hadi Gandor is now number 19, going into the next season. Rory Deacon, I think, was number 20, but I think he prefers 21 because he's got 21 now on the website, and he did sign a few kits of number 21 whilst wearing the number 20 shirt on the last day of the season. So yeah, that's good for him to get his preferred number. Henry Woods, new signing from Gillingham, number 23. Tushawn Walters, number 25. Perry and Dolo's picked up 27. Harley Earl, of course, development squad goalkeeper, featured in that Kent Senior Cup game against Tunbridge this season. It's number 28 for him. Bivesh Gurung, 29. Yusuf Mersin, although he's got no picture on the website, he has got the number 30 on there. And Jack Cooley, of course, ex-Bromley player, number 34. So again, maybe these are just preliminary numbers. They might change, of course. This could be an indicator as to whether these players are staying. Would you go to the effort to put them all on the website if they were going to go? But I'm sure we'll find out soon. And one more thing I just want to talk about before we do wrap things up today is next season. You know, it's going to be a big season for Maidstone. It's going to be a difficult season for Maidstone, and I just want to talk a little bit about my expectations for the pre-season. You know, what do I want to see to kind of set us up going into the National League? Well, I think we're going to need a change of system. I've been speaking to a few of the Stones Live lads privately, just kind of what we're expecting to see. And of course, we saw that 4-3-3 so prevalent last season for us, really worked wonders, having that kind of holding player, two flat like midfielders in the centre, and then of course that front three were just able to move about and somewhat interchange. You know, we saw Luke sometimes cutting in towards the middle and Barham find himself out on the width. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what changes. I think if you look at the signings we've made, we've now got 3 players who can play as striker now. All very good players. Sol, Wanjau-Smith, of course, Gandor and Barham, and then Perry might be staying as well. That's 4 players. So we might see a little change to the system with 2 up front. You know, we're going to have to give these players minutes, so they're going to have to find somewhere to fit in. And that then again could open the door for maybe a back 3. I mean, we just signed a very established player in Jack Cooley, and I can't see Joe Alol or George Fowler getting dropped. And a few of the lads that I've been speaking to have been suggesting that maybe a back 3 is something that could be explored. But with the players we've got at the moment, we've got 3 very good first team centre backs, but that's all we've got. We haven't got anyone else that can play there unless you want to include Gavin Hoyt there. But he's great at centre back, but I think he's better as a right back. Gavin does a lot of work down the flanks. And of course the midfield is a little bit depleted at the moment. We've only got 3 first team midfielders actually signed up with the squad. Of course, Henry Woods from Gillingham, he's going to be the youngest player in the squad, I think. Let's have a look. He's younger than Sol. He's 22. Sol's 23. Gandor actually might be younger than him, just about. Maybe Perry as well. Vivesh and Harley, more fringe players, but again, they could break in. So it is going to be interesting to see how Woods does fit into this Maidstone system. Is he going to go straight into that first team? Are we going to sign someone else? Who knows? But yeah, besides that, we do only have the 3 midfielders. Well, 4, I suppose, if you include Vivesh. Actually, that's a bit harsh of me. He's a fringe player, but he did show a lot of good things last season, actually, in a few sub-appearances. He's a very hungry player. I went to school with him, played against him. He was a couple of years younger than me, and I did play against him about a year or 2 ago in some 6-side tournaments and things. And he's a good player. I'm not the best player, but he's a brilliant player. And yeah, I mean, his hunger just shows through no matter where he is. You know, he's desperate for a win, and obviously that kind of relays into his first team role. You know, is he going to be someone who can use that hunger and that passion to break through into that first team? He's a bit more of a defensive-minded player, I think. Although when I played against him, he was very good at coming forward. So, yeah, I think it's going to be up to Hakan to just kind of see and decide where he ends up next season. But, again, 4 midfielders contracted with the club, it's going to be difficult to maintain throughout such a busy season next year. I mean, chances are we're going to end up playing 50 plus games, of course, with the cups and the 46 league games next season. So we're going to need a few more reinforcements. That's where I'm saying Dom Olusanya and players like that. Maybe Joel Powell, of course. Loney from Charlton could make a comeback. But on the rumour mill, there's not a lot at the moment. It's gone quite quiet, which is, you know, sometimes no news is good news. It's good to keep your card close to your chest. Maybe not give too much away. Again, this David Smith thing kind of broke a little while ago, didn't it? Through the non-league files, talking about the links to us, Bromley, Yeovil. So not being involved in links like that, you know, kind of allows you to go under the radar, kind of beat competition without them even knowing you're there. But yeah, I think we're going to need a few more players coming in. If we were to bring back Deacon and Patterson, I still think we're going to need one more wide player. Christy Patterson's obviously someone who's predominantly very right-footed. Deacon we've seen can use both, but again, his right, I think, is a little bit better. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember which one's his strong foot, but he's more than capable with both. But again, that left-hand side, the only player we're going to have fit playing on that left is Sol Wanjau-Smith for a good part of next season. So we might need to see a reinforcement out there. Coulson has just been released as well. Has just announced he's leaving his current club, and there's a bit of speculation on the forums where he's going to end up. A lot of fans saying they'd be delighted with signing him, and a few friends of mine have also shared that thought. But yeah, I think we are going to need at least another 3 signings if we do manage to retain everybody on that list. Brown will be our backup left back, but we still need a backup right back. We'll have 2 goalkeepers. We're going to need at least 1 more centre back, because you can't go in with 3, especially when you've got Joe Alol and Jack Corley. I mean, I don't want to call Joe Alol injury prone, because I don't think he is, but he is someone who puts his body on the line. He's not afraid to get injured, and that of course did see him come off with a couple knocks, especially in the latter stage of last season once the game started picking up. So, you know, again, he's not getting any younger. Fantastic player, my favourite player, but, well, Ben and Williams would put it on par. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of who's playing every week. We might have to rotate as a back 4, Cooley for Alol. Maybe that's the reason he's come in. He's a very similar looking player to him, minus the facial tattoos and the shaved head, I mean, in terms of playing style. But yeah, I think Maidstone are going to need at least 1 more centre back, a right back, another midfielder, definitely a left winger, and again, maybe just someone else who can kind of be a bit more of a utility man, someone who can play out wide if needs be, but also play in the middle just to provide cover. So a good 4 players, I think, if we do manage to retain most of these players on that list. But again, all speculation. That's what I'm here to do for this video. And I think that about rounds it up. It's going to be a much longer video. Looking at it now, it's just under half an hour, so we'll wrap things up here. Good timing because I've just finished me tea, so it gives me time to go make another one. But again, if you did enjoy this video, again, something a lot more laid back, something you can maybe just stick on in the background and just kind of listen to me rattling off a few ideas, few thoughts, kind of looking at a bit of the news that's coming out at the moment. Again, nothing groundbreaking, but just having a little look at some of the smaller things which may pique your interest and spark a bit of debate, especially in terms of that retain list, which we're probably going to see updated tomorrow. But again, if you do enjoy this type of video, then please do let me know in the comment section below. Please leave your comments below. Again, creating that conversation, speculating about what's to come in this month of July ahead of the National League campaign starting the 6th of August. Next week, I'm going to be bringing you a video about the fixture list being released. We'll be finding out where we're going to be. And of course, if you do enjoy this type of video, then of course leave a like on the video below and do subscribe. Really enjoying the amount of views we're getting at the moment. This is fantastic. A lot better reception than I was expecting. But the subscriber count, I'd love that to go up as well. We're sitting just over 50, so I'm really happy we managed to actually hit that. It's a good milestone in such a short period of time. But of course, always striving for better, and hopefully we can grow along with the club for next season. So thank you all for watching, or at least listening to this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.